Friday afternoon and I just could not handle being in the office anymore, so decided to get out and take a little walk. And since it's early spring, it's a great time to scout. I figured I'd look for some signs, so I'm gonna take a little hike through the woods here on one of my main Michigan properties and see what we can learn. Beautiful. Alright, so I'm walking along the edge of this cornfield. I just spotted something that I've known because I've hunted here before, but something I think it's worth taking a look at when you're scouting a new property. But when you're checking out a field, you know, typically deer are not going to want to cross a wide open field, but if they do, if they're going to come out in that field, lots of times they look for a low spot in that field. So there's high spots on either side. They come through that low spot and they're relatively hidden. And there's one of those, just one of those areas right here behind me. So let's take a look at it. It's a spot that consistently over the years I've seen deer almost always crossing through this section of the field. And it's for good reason. So if you look, you can see that low spot right there. And it continues across to there. So they cross this little narrow strip of the field from there to there. So if I was new on this property, I found this low spot here across the field, I would know there's a pretty good chance the deer are gonna be crossing here. So it might make sense to hang a stand on either side. If you're gonna be on a field edge, it's a decent spot to be. This little swamp section I've been walking through here, it's been what I typically thought has been a pretty dynamite bedding area, except for it's super wet. So gotta find those slight occasional high spots out there. I think that's where they're bedded. I typically stay out of there as it's kind of my sanctuary on this property. But I'm gonna walk some of the edges here and just see if I can't find some additional little areas of doe bedding that maybe I haven't seen before. So nothing over here too wet, but I think up here we might find something. Now, right here, back behind me is the beginning of this bedding area that I've never really hunted too close to, but I think I should. Like I said, there's so much wet, swampy stuff over here. I don't think they're bedding. They're not bedding, and it's just too wet most of the year. So this section over here is a little bit of high ground here on the edge of that swamp, and I've kind of left it alone over the years, but I think that's been a mistake. So I'm gonna walk around there a little bit and check it out. So I've been walking through this nasty thick stuff and I found what I believe is a spot where there's probably some does bedding. You know, it's been lots of thorns and brambles and all sorts of really thick stuff all around here, but here I came upon a little opening in the middle of the thick stuff, the tree in the middle, kind of high ground, and some indentations where it looks like there's been a few deer bedded. So this is likely a doe bedding area, probably a doe and a couple of yearlings have been bedded here. And this is the kind of spot you want to take note of because it can be a dynamite way to hunt during the rut is getting downwind of a doe bedding area like this. So I'm gonna lock this one up in the mind and continue looking through this stretch. I'm guessing there's probably a few more clusters like this where there's been some doe bedding. So we're gonna keep on looking, and this is what I was hoping to find. So I just walked up while I was talking about kind of generic scouting. I just walked through an area that is a dynamite spot, probably to get a chance at a mature buck. You know, like I was talking about, when it comes to scrapes, most of the time those are going to be used during dark, you know, after dark. But if you can find a heavy scrape back in the cover, that can be the kind of place where you might see daylight activity. And I just found a spot like that. Looks like a major scrape area here, way back in this bedding cover, that I wouldn't be surprised if you could catch a nice buck on his feet in those last days of October. So check this out. You can see what most likely was a large area churned up by deer's hooves, obviously. And then you can see some broken branches just above it. So here's our licking branches. You can see that busted off, these hanging down here, these hanging down here, and then a large area that's scuffed up. Now it's April now, so you can't see anything fresh in here, but there's definitely a significant lack of leaves compared to everywhere else. So definitely a place I want to check out again. This isn't too far from that doe bedding area I found either, so I've got some doe bedding, I've got a great in the cover scrape. If I get downwind of this could be a great spot to hunt, so excited to find this. You know, when I'm looking for trails, one of the most important things I'm looking for is intersections of trails and where trails might funnel down, where you see that deer have to funnel down because of some kind of terrain or some kind of feature. And I just found a spot exactly like that. Again, in this little cluster that I've been checking out with some high ground here. I've got a swamp on this side, I've got some high ground, I got a crop field on the back side, and I've been seeing some nice doe bedding areas here just to my north. As I came towards the southern part of that doe bedding area, it opens up a little bit and you come to where that swamp hits up against it. And right here, there's like 1, 2, 3, 4, like 4 different trails all come together right here at this hub. I mean, check it out. It's a no questions asked funnel of sorts. You've got this trail right here. You've got this trail right here. You've got this trail right here. You've got another trail you can see right there that comes in and around, comes right through here. And here, those trails come together. All go down that way. So as I've been checking this out, I knew I liked this doe bedding area over here. I found that big community scrape, I like that. Now I found this section where all these trails come together. Now I'm starting to find, you know, the spot within the spot. This is kind of how you take that scouting to that next level. You know, I'm not just trying to find where's some general bedding area, where's some general food. Now I can start thinking, okay, I know where bedding is, I know where food is. Now where's the best spot to be within that spot? And that's what I found here, where I'm finding these features all coming together. That community scrape, you know, 50 yards over there. This convergence of trails right over here. If I take this all into effect, think about what the wind might be doing, this could be a really good spot to be. So check this off as a major success for the scouting here, kind of narrowing down where the best spot within the spot is. So I'm out here and I just came upon a series of rubs here in a cluster. And when I'm out scouting, I think about rubs in a couple different ways. They help me in a couple different ways. You know, first and foremost, I'm looking for big rubs. If there's a really big tree that's got a rub up on it, it's a good chance that that was a relatively mature, relatively large deer that did that. I'm talking big. On the other hand, I'm also paying attention to rubs that might indicate a staging area. If you find a series of rubs close to a food source but still back in the cover a little bit, it's a good indication that that's a spot the bucks might be staging before heading out to feed, which can be a great place to hunt, especially in that October time frame when you're really still hunting that bed to feed pattern. The last thing I'm paying attention to when it comes to rubs are the possibility of buck bedding areas and how rubs can help you kind of identify those. Now when I'm looking for a buck bed, it's usually going to be in the best cover or the best position on a ridge or the best spot on a property for a bedding area. Secondly, then, I'm looking for something that's got a little bit of back cover, and then are there a few rubs right in and around that single solitary bed? If there is, that's a great indication that's a buck bed. And that's kind of what I found right here. I've got a cluster of rubs right in a spot that looks like a dynamite little spot for a buck to bed. Got a rub right there, got a rub right here, and I got another rub just on the other side. So it's a great sign to see one of the things I'm paying attention to when it comes to rubs, and I'm liking the fact that I found them here. Jeez, oh Pete. Oh. took a pretty bad tumble there. And that was not staged. Ouch.